Hi everyone, we're here again doing our Q&A and we're going to learn this time about commercial. What is commercial? How can commercial help us? It's one of the branches that we actually can go into. And so here today we have Shams with us. Shams, hi, how are you doing?
Great.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. So my name is Shams Siddiqui, and I do commercial real estate. And of course, we're involved with all sorts of real estate in today's world. So thanks for having me on this conversation. So I'll let you kick off. You had some questions on your mind that you wanted to.
I did. But first I'm curious to know how you got started with commercial.
Absolutely.
You did residential before.
So this is a great question. So let me kind of give you some insight into that. So what had happened is almost over 15 years ago, we had got into after-school enrichment program with my wife, and we opened a number of locations in children's after-school and enrichment centers. Then they're now called Ideal Lab Kids. You can see them all over town. And we got into starting a franchise. At that time, around that time, or shortly before that, I was really doing residential, okay? And so what happened is I got interested in the aspects of the commercial side for having to build out a location for children daycare and after-school enrichment facilities and all the things involved in, and it's really retail. That would be classed as retail space, and how to get a retail space converted into an operating business focused in children-centric. And that kind of gave me insight into the commercial aspect. But to be fair, prior to that, I'd been a banker for quite a while, about almost 15 to 20 years, working with banks like Chase Bank and M&G Bank. So I had experience in business banking and commercial banking side of things. Also with that, I have a Master's of Business Administration from Colorado State University. So it really gives me the basic understanding of cash flow systems, financial analysis, and what's involved from a startup entrepreneur into running a business. So that's kind of the insight of why I got into commercial real estate. By the way, we ended up opening a total of 50 franchise locations, and just prior to COVID, we ended up selling them. And we were blessed to a California investor, and since that time, but you'll see them. You can go online and look at Ideal Lab Kids, and it's also on my LinkedIn profile. So absolutely, thank you for asking that question. So here I am. Fast forward, now I'm in commercial real estate. We're talking about 15 years going on, and I really go into the different branches of commercial real estate. Retail, I've already mentioned to you. I also do investor-related properties. Investor is folks that are saying, hey, I just want to get some return on investment, and keep in mind, putting your money in a bank, you can get 5% nowadays, which really was unheard of. So obviously, the client, the individual is looking for something a little bit better than 5%. So I help these investors find passive income. Well, what is passive income? Well, basically what it means is that I just want to collect my rent, and I don't want to deal with the maintenance of the facility. I don't want to deal with anything but other than collecting the rent. And that's where I specialize. I help specializing investors looking at multifamily locations. And then we've got other corporate guaranteed leases. So I've worked with dollar stores, Starbucks, O'Reilly, AutoZone. These are all companies that have corporate leases. So what's happened, and Lifetime Fitness is another good model. What they do is they'll buy the building, they'll do it, and then they'll do a leaseback program. So then they're leasing it. And so the investor becomes a landlord. But his tenant could be a Starbucks or dollar store, right? Or like a Lifetime Fitness. So they know it's corporate guaranteed. The secret is it's corporate guaranteed. Their client is unlikely, the renter is unlikely to default. And even the event it defaults, it will be guaranteed by a corporate guarantee. And when I talk to investors, they ask me, well, how can you check that out? And I go in depth in explaining how you can guarantee. So that's a really major part of what I do. is helping investors invest in retail property. So multifamily, Houston is like really big in multifamily right now. Everybody's interested, whether it's a 12-unit apartment building, 15 unit, 22 units. I work with developers in finding land and helping an investor invest in that land and build a multifamily and then lease out the units. So I've been involved with acquiring existing rental facilities and being able to seeing where the gap is, how they can be improved. Or sometimes they're performing well. If the investor is willing to pay that higher rate that it demands, then they're willing to, because their strategy could be for a long-term gain. So they're looking to not only collect the income, passive income on a monthly, annual basis, but they're also looking at property increasing in value over 10 to 20 years. I had one client that reached out to me, said, hey, he's an engineer. He said, look, I'm looking for that small retail shopping center. My kids have just started kindergarten. I want to have a whole strategy where after 10 or 15 years, I'm able to sell it and use that money for their college education. We all know that college education is expensive. Another strategy, a buy and hold. So you can see, I mean, I'm totally passionate about the commercial real estate. I like it because the hours are more confined to your type of normal office hours where you're not having to do open houses on a Sunday or a Saturday. I like to do other things with my family. So for me, it really fits the business model for me, right? And I am passionate about helping people see their goals. I'm working right now with two young gentlemen that have been experienced in the coffee industry. They're with a corporate coffee chain, and they've decided that they want to start their own coffee shop. So I've helped them start a business plan. We looked at microloans and SBA loans. And so those kind of things are really uplifting to me because I'm helping, what is it called? The American dream. See their vision, see where they want to go. I mean, keep in mind, the big blue chip IBM days have gone. You know that. You've come from a corporate background. They've all changed now. Everybody wants to, earlier on in my life, how can I get set up? So when I get to a certain point, the business will be self-sustaining and provide income for as growth. So I could talk on about this forever, but I'll let you open it up to some other questions you had.
So I know you talked about some of the different commercial that you can do. At what point does a multi-family, let's say, become a commercial? Because there has been some instances where we find, a duplex or a fourplex on HAR.
After 4 units.
After 4 units, it becomes a commercial.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of your specialties, in the commercial branch. But I also know that you can also help sell a business.
Oh, absolutely. So that's a great point. So as well as having the commercial real estate, I'm licensed in state of Illinois and in Texas, and I focus on commercial real estate. But my other passion is business brokerage. So being a business broker, often what happens is you could, for example, I work with folks that like to purchase liquor stores or a Subway franchise, right? So what would happen is the actual facility, the location will be a lease transfer. So the lease would be transferred over to them. So on the real estate side, I'm not really getting really involved, or the landlord has the lease drafted by their attorney. A lot of the business owners do like to work with attorneys, right? So that piece is already taken care of. But there comes a point where I can add value. They want to either buy the business or sell the business. A recent transaction happened where a gentleman had owned the Subway franchise for about 25 years, and he was at the point where he was ready to retire. So I was able to value the business for him, right? Value the business for him, help him list it. Also, one of my added value to my sellers is being able to screen the buyers, because their biggest, like anybody, and I think we can speak to some, we've heard this, a lot of homeowners say, well, I can just for sale by owner. Where is the value? What the value is, truly, do you know how to filter out from someone that's truly a genuine inquiring, purchasing a business versus someone that's just kicking the tires and not qualified. Some of the things that I pre-qualify, if you will, for lack of a better word, for someone that wants to purchase a business is we ask for their background. Have they had experience? Because these are the key things that a bank is going to ask. When you're about to start a business, do you have experience in that field, right? I mean, no, I've never done this before. Well, if you've not been in the restaurant business, there's still some understanding of expediting cash flow, handling employees, being able to facilitate that. All those things come into play. So experience is really key. So someone that's looking to buy your business, are they experienced in that? And then, of course, if they're going to go for a bank loan, and yes, there are the same basic fundamentals, your credit needs to be good. Have you formed your company? A lot of people haven't even formed their company yet. Have they formed their company? And then if those things are good to go, banks will ask them for business plans, right? Have they had it, especially if you're a startup, have they had a chance to formulate a business plan? So my strength comes into understanding the business, being able to help facilitate the sale of that business, and also being able to, for someone who's buying a business, to explain to them what the advantages are in purchasing that business. I've even been involved with this business that was a smokehouse, and I did not know anything. And Texas is big on smokehouses, how the deers were hunted, and the folks would get the hunted deer and have the smoked barbecue and packaged, and they did that. And I did smokehouse, did the lunches and the dinners. So it was like a restaurant, but it was just more than a restaurant. Of all the smokehouses, how they are and how it's all smoked. So there's a lot of different intricacies for businesses. And that's the thing. It's very worrying because a lot of folks that want to go and purchase a business and they talk to business brokers, or they say that the person is a business broker, but truly they don't understand the ins and outs of the business, how it functions. And we're not even talking about financial statements, cash statements. We're just talking about how the business will work, right? So I bring that expertise to business brokerage.
Mm-hmm. So where do these commercial listings go? I know they're usually not on board.
Oh, no, absolutely. So, everybody's heard of LoopNet, right? That is the biggest player. LoopNet now has been surpassed by CoStar, and CoStar is for commercial real estate. But as far as businesses go, business listings can be anywhere that the client wants to list them, all right? They're sometimes listed within the business broker community. Sometimes you will go onto Facebook and you'll see hotel owners have formed a group. So it's not really rocket science. It's really looking at the most basic elements that you can think of, and that's where those groups will be formed, right? Some of it's word of mouth, some of it's through the chamber. There's lots of different avenues of being able to facilitate your business. Sometimes if it's a franchise, that franchise brand will help you facilitate that sale, right? So if it's Mart Pizza, for example, or something like that, I'm not saying that they do, but that's an example of a franchise that may help facilitate that sale or acquire new business. So it's not your M&S, correct? But having said that, I feel like the residential side is going to take a change towards the commercial side. We've recently seen, and I'm not going to get into this, but this NAR and the whole thing is saying more and more that people are going to go to the unconventional side of being able to sell their residential just like commercial properties. So I think that's also going to happen. Yeah. But to answer your question, LoopNet was a big thing for commercial properties, and CoStar. CoStar really focuses. CoStar have a specific fee. As a commercial realtor, you sign on for that. It's pretty expensive, but then you're reaching out to all the commercial properties and all the commercial brokers that are involved. So you're within that group.
Right. What about Comgate?
Okay, so Comgate, that's a great point. Comgate has recently expanded and now become part of Moody's Analytics. Moody's is really growing their platform. For anybody that's curious, you can go on and Google Moody's Analytics. They're growing their platform, and Comgate is trying to ramp up what's available on there. And I think through Moody's, With everybody's heard of S&P and Moody's. They're a big index company. I think the reason why that's happening because everybody wants to get away from monopolies, with the CoStar.net. So Colgate is up and coming, but whether it's there right now, not sure everybody's using. Because your tools are only as good as the information. And if everybody's not listing their businesses, their commercial properties, it's not a business platform, it's commercial property. See, so there's a difference. So the MLS here is very different to the MLS, say, in Chicago. If you go to the Chicago MLS, their business is listed on. But here in Texas, we don't do that, but in Illinois, they do. So every state is different. Every county is different in the way it's written.
Do you have to have a license to sell businesses?
No, great point. No, in Texas, you're not required to have a business brokerage license. Here's two things you need to have. You need to have a constant working relationship with an attorney. All the transactions I do I work with attorneys, and those attorneys will do all the necessary documents. Being a very important point, because errors and omissions insurance will not cover you for anything that may or could possibly happen in the purchase and the sale of business or commercial real estate. So attorneys are always, you have to partner with attorneys, and just like the appraiser or the inspectors, you have to have more than one, right? So when you refer to your clients, you offer them a choice. So these are the attorneys I work with. Which one would you like? You let them have their choice, right?
How do you find an attorney? What kind of attorney are you actually looking for?
Someone that works within business. Yeah.
Okay, so I know we explained...
Commercial real estate.
Or commercial real estate, okay. So I know we explained commercial real estate, but how does it differ just for especially our new agents that are maybe considering to going into commercial? How does it differ from commercial and residential?
So it's an excellent question. Here's the short and the long of it. Commercial transactions will have a longer life cycle. The reason being is when you're selling a commercial real estate, there's different inspections that you have to do. And some of them, without getting too technical for this interview, they're related to environmental, right? Environmental, it's really depending on the ground contamination. Where do we see this? We see a lot of this involved in dry cleaners, in auto mechanic shops, in gas stations, where there's substance that could be prone to be dumped, or some of it escapes from leaking tanks. So environmental is very important. And to do it, there's two phases for an environmental, and that takes time. So that if you're getting your environmental inspections out the way, and then your commercial real estate generally is bigger in size. So you got your commercial inspectors, right? And then you other forms of valuations and metrics that you have to work within the business. And then the valuation of the business itself. You can see that all these things are going to take time. They just don't happen, right? It's not like I can go online and just boom, I'm done with my. It takes time to get that analysis. So typically, when we're doing a commercial contract, it's not unusual to 60-day close, So
it's a little bit longer.
It is. And so for those folks that are really looking to get a shorter turnaround in receiving their money, I would say you have to really prepare yourself well to have your funds really well set and how you can pace yourself, however you want to design that. So that's really key. That's the difference on that. The other difference is you have to be good with numbers. I mean, there's no lies about this. This is it. You have to understand. Your investors are super savvy. They will ask you about return on investments. They will ask you about cap rates. They will ask you on cash analysis. All these things take time and understanding, right? Some commercial buyers will ask you, well, do you have an IMST report? So these things can go on and on. So there's a lot of in-depth knowledge to have to study in commercials when you're going into that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of folks that say out there that, I do commercial real estate. But again, just so you know, I was recently updating my licenses, and TREC's requirements have been that whenever you're changing discipline, that you should have a mentorship at least 3 transactions within that discipline. Which I think is a great segue into the next question you were going to ask you was about mentorship. So without that, we've just got right into that. So mentorship is really important because for everybody's protection, we want to make sure that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, most definitely. I've just started moving a little bit into
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I know you've been helping me as well.
Look at this guy. Here's one of my candidates right here. And she's learning real fast too. So
Yeah. It's very hard, very different, and I can definitely say it's not no emotional anything. So it's the residential part of that.
I mean, you remember on that transaction we were working on recently, the seller had claimed that he had so many sales and so much, and we asked for tax returns, financials, and they weren't able to provide that. And that's really simply, I mean, it's basic. I mean, you're saying that, hey, this produces this much money over a year. Can you provide me documentation? And if they're not able to do that, and that was an awakening for your buyers, right? They were like, what the heck? What's going on here? So they were scratching their head. So again, it's really important to have someone that has an understanding and to be able to partner like you have, to partner with someone on the commercial side that can give you some insight, because there are a lot of pitfalls and your errors and omissions insurance won't cover you on the commercial side, and that's why it's so important to work with attorneys.
So I know the contracts are even different, right? The contracts for commercial and the commercial side are different.
Oh, absolutely. So we do have the benefit of Texas realtors do have some forms that are there that are available based on whether you're selling land, whether you're selling multifamily, whether you're selling a commercial building. There's different types of forms, and you can go onto the Texas Realtors website to see that. But almost most of the transactions, somewhere along the line, an attorney will get involved and add an additional document. So it's really important that you work with a good attorney. Yeah.
So let's talk about the financial options for commercial, because they're different. The loans are completely different.
Very different.
Yes. So what kind of commercial financial options are there for our clients?
There are lots of different things, and I really don't want the audience to fall asleep right now, so I won't go into the different types of amortization schedules, balloon payments. There's so many different ways that loans can be structured on the commercial side. But in a nutshell, I can say that the amounts are typically bigger. The underwriting is a little bit more scrupulous on, because there could be a business being sold, it could be evaluation of the commercial property, and there are different guidelines, and every bank is very different in what they're saying. Some key factors are, how do I want my loans to be spread over? So do I want to make small payments or do I want to make big payments? So 30 years, I mean, we come from the residential side, 30-year amortization schedule, everybody understands. Just think of it this way. So on the commercial side, you get to choose different amortization schedules. Could be 20, 25 years, 30 years. Every bank is different. So that's the number one key. Interest rates are based on indices that are, it could be related to Wall Street Journal Prime, or what the prime rate is. And so then it gets very, very technical. I'm not a commercial lender, but it's something that is really based on those key factors and how much money you're putting down. Typically, your down payment is going to be a bigger amount. Anywhere from 20 to 30% is what's going to be required to put down, depending on the strength of the borrower and the strength of the business. So that kind of answers your question right there.
What about land, commercial land? How does it differ from regular residential land? And also, is it listed on LoopNet and Comgate, or can it be listed on the MLS?
No, it can be. You're right. Land is listed, but it also depends on the use, right? It is, like you said, it's on Comgate, which is an extension of HARP, right? How is it different? In the sense that, is it zoned for commercial use? Is it unrestricted? Right? And then all these other things, what is it developed or not developed? So I think there's lots of different things on the land. And is it agricultural, farmland? So there's lots of different niches within land.
So how do you find the zoning and regulations considered for land?
County records are the easiest. It's not, again, I always try and tell my mentees, let's not try and make it rocket science. It's really simple. It's just like if I'd ask you, how easy is it for you to see the taxes on a property? You can see county records, right? So there we go.
Okay, good. What certifications do you need to be able to sell commercial and business property?
Okay, so again, like I mentioned to you, the track requirement is to be, there is no specific requirement that you need. There are some good things to have. Accreditations, you've heard of this, the different commercial accreditation people get in commercial classes. And some of these commercial classes are even available in Harvard, right? So you can get the accreditations. Generally, you keep your license current, your real estate license, right? And then proficiency is what's most important. It's like anybody that specializes on property management. They have to be proficient. It takes a very specialized person to be a property manager, as you know, right? Same thing in the commercial side. You have to be proficient. And pick a branch. If you want to say, I want to do industrial could be warehouses, right? Right. Or I want to do retail. Okay, retail could be your storefronts, your strip centers, or I want to do something that has a combination, like a car wash, right? It's really retail, but it could be anchored. Anchored meaning it could be in a Target shopping center or a H-E-B shopping center that's up the anchor, and it could be situated there. Car washes are one thing, multifamily. So really pick the lane that you want to stay in and get good at that. That's my recommendation. And master that, and then master something of this, because there's so much to learn.
The rental, we didn't talk about the rental side of leasing. How involved or how hard is it to get into rental commercial properties?
So in other words, you have a buyer, you have a client that owns property. He bought a small office park, say for example, and he wants to lease out those office spaces, right? So essentially, you should have an understanding of what the client's potential income can be by doing an analysis on that. And also, more importantly, understand the cost of the client currently. How much is he paying on it? Is it financed? Because then you can really drill down to see if he puts it on the market based on the purchase price he paid for it, is he going to be able to make on his return on investment? Or maybe he's thinking, I just want to break even. I just want to accumulate in asset value. So.
Okay, great. We've learned so much today with the commercial side of this.
Yeah.
So how do we get a hold of you, and how much do you charge, or give us some a little input as to
No, that's a great question. So my name is Shams Siddiqui. I'm with J Carr, the sales group, and with J Carr Commercial. My email is shams@businessadvisory.services. My phone number is 713-412-2666. As far as the charge of what it costs them, look, my point is to do a joint mentorship. If you're really interested in becoming a mentor, then we work on the model that would work. And it's based on the value. Every transaction is based on a case-by-case basis. But generally, I would say it's during the course of the mentoring period, we try and keep it equal, because I'm wanting you to be engaged in doing it, and I'm also doing it with you, right? So if there's equal involvement, then it stands to reason there'd be an equal benefit to both parties. And whether the specifics on it, I'll discuss it on a case-by-case basis. I'm open to calls or emails. Just let me know. But I truly want you to know that if this is something you're considering, really know that this is something that you feel that you would have a taste for. Because, again, it's dealing with a lot of numbers. It's dealing with a lot of different types of businesses. And if that's something that appeals to you, it really does. And really, the world is your oyster. I worked with nail salons, hairdressers, so on the retail side of things, those people that have an interest in fashion or hair, there is an aspect of that is really, people need to get their hair done. People need to get their nails done. These are aspects. People need to get dog grooming facilities. I can go on for endlessly. These are everyday things that people need. And I feel like getting into the commercial side and the business side, you're not only serving the immediate client, but you're serving the community by bringing that business to the community. So to me, that's the biggest play in this. and it's about relationships. I know a lot of people are really dazzled by the brand names. The brand is only as good as you are. If you're sincere with your clients, if you're honest with them, if you're able to respond to them. I mean, I hear this all the time. Well, my commercial really doesn't call me back. And I think that's really key. I mean, on your listing appointment, isn't that something that we discussed? Is that how communication will communicate? And then the rest, the technical side, I can definitely encourage and guide and provide guidance. But I think where the basic clientele skills formulate, that's something that is how you would like to be served, is how you will serve other people.
Yeah, most definitely. And if it's something that you cannot do and do not want to do yet, because you haven't taken any commercial or what have you, don't let go of that client of yours. Make sure that you can refer them out. We can also refer them to you. And I know we had talked about that, the referral process.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically the referral fees are anywhere between 20 to 25% based on the potential transactions and to formulate a relationship between. To me, there's external customers and internal customers. So a residential realtor, to me, would be an internal customer. And to form that alliance and that bond, I am willing to provide up to 30% of referral fee on a transaction. And you're saying, hey, Shams, run with it. But here's my thing. I'll never let you feel that you're out on your own, without the client not knowing where the connection is. I'll reel you in, saying, hey, we're part of a team, we're working to meet your needs. And guess what? Recently, I was talking to a commercial hotelier, and he told me in talking that, yeah, his house was all paid off. The first thing I did was getting back to my referral source and letting him know, hey, by the way, you may want to update. His residential property is paid off, and he may be looking for an upgrade. This is a working partnership. We're providing information back and forth. It's not like, okay, refer this to me, you get your 30%, bye-bye, have a nice day. It's more about having a continued cohesive relationship. And for the client, it's about one point of contact. You're going to be the star, the superstar, because you're going to reach out and say, hey, I can help you with your commercial needs. I have the team, and I will be part of your team, and I'd be proud to be part of your team.
Thank you. And I actually have that personal experience with you. So he does call me and he updates me as to what's going on, and then sends all kinds of emails. So yes, he keeps me on my feet. Thank you so much for being
here. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm also on LinkedIn, Shams Siddiqui, Siddiqui MBA, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And that way you can also see some insight into my background.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.